Hey there, folks. Welcome to this pre-introduction of our usual introduction of Playwright Spotlight. If you've listened to us before, you might be thrown off a little bit from our usual introduction. And if you're here for the first time, thank you for tuning in to what very well may be our most important episode thus far. This episode is inspiring, motivating, and heartbreaking, and probably reflective of one of the reasons that we first got into theater in the first place, whether that is from playwriting perspective, directing, performance, tech. It's a story of overcoming obstacles that get in your way and an homage to the old adage, the show must go on, no matter what. So sit back, relax. If you haven't gotten through a full episode of Playwright Spotlight in the past, due to whatever circumstances, I implore and urge you to sit through this episode in its entirety. You won't be disappointed. And please, if you're able to, support the artists in this episode, because they're going to need it, because they're going to go on to strive for much bigger and better things. Enjoy this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Before we begin, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share this video with a friend. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. My next guest is a writer, composer, director, designer, actress, and senior at Mission San Jose High School, as well as president of the school's student-run theater program. Her play, A Lost Soul's Guide to Not Being Alive, or Being Not Alive, received an honorable mention from the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, and her most recent piece, A Minor Inconvenience, received gold in student-written one-act category at the Linnea High School Theater Festival. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Faye Widjaja. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
All right, wonderful. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that. There's so many important things to touch upon this outside of the playwriting aspect. And so after hearing your story, I thought it was probably something that we should tackle. Not to mention A Minor Inconvenience is not a traditionally written piece. So it's another aspect of playwriting that we'll touch upon that we haven't covered in past episodes. So first of all, congratulations. I hope you guys had a great time.
We definitely did. Thank you.
Absolutely. And from what I understand, you told me that you guys are actually having your Linnea celebration right now.
Yeah, we are. I traditionally hold our Linnea celebration in my parents' office because that's kind of like the only place we have. And so I give them a place to do karaoke.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we won't try to keep you too long here, so you can go out and celebrate and be with your fellow castmates. So, A Minor Inconvenience is really kind of a performance art piece. I mean, there's so many different aspects of theater. It's not a musical.
Yeah.
It has spoken word. Is there beat poetry?
A little bit. There's a little
Okay.
of everything in there.
And there's dance. So let's talk about where this concept came from. What made you write it? How'd you approach it? And why did you tackle it the way that you chose to as a performance art piece instead of just a straight play with, somebody struggling with something they have to overcome?
Sure. So my original inspiration for this piece was the French New Wave film from Cleo from 5 to 7. And that movie is like a piece that's completely in real time, or like it's supposed to be like 2 hours of real time. And so I was really inspired then by that. And I really wanted to create a piece that had like a countdown clock for a long time. And I played with a lot of different ideas. I had a lot of different starts of plays. And so I just really wanted to create that idea of like the counting down to be really important. And then I started thinking about the people I was working with, and I started thinking about the fact that this is my last year in high school, and I really wanted to create a piece that could speak to and was relatable for everyone who was performing in the cast, and also could only be performed by high schoolers. And so we came up with this idea of having it be 30 minutes before someone turns 18, because of course being 18 is a pretty big milestone that a lot of people have big feelings about. And so I decided to combine those two ideas of having like the 30-minute countdown and having that big milestone to create like this concept of the 30 minutes before you turn 18. And because this piece is kind of really personal, in a way, I had to find a way to tell the story without necessarily having too many other actors be part of it. So I really wanted it to be a piece focused on the birthday kid and completely within the birthday kid's mind.
Sure, but at the same time, I mean, this is a huge ensemble piece. How many different performers did you have on stage at any given time?
I think up to 12 people on stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you came up with that concept, what was the next step? Where did you go from there?
So I created my little time, like a plot, all the plot points that I wanted to hit on, or not necessarily plot points in this specific play, but the emotions that I wanted to target. And so I had a lot of different concepts playing in my mind. I wanted to use mirrors because I wanted to have an opportunity for the audience to view themselves in the mirrors, and also for the birthday kid to view themselves. And then I came up with the idea of having flashlights because I really enjoyed the thought of like intrusive light in the audience. And I was inspired by Patti LuPone in Company for the song from the older sibling. And so I had a lot of different concepts playing around, and then I arranged them to create like the whole piece, the timeline for the whole piece.
Okay, so the play opens how? It opens in with what?
The play opens with the birthday kid walking in, holding their cake, and then they get transported into their mind from their overwhelming thoughts. Their overwhelming thoughts take over, and they're lost in their mind.
Okay, so you wrote out, how many beats did you wind up writing out? What can we call them, beats?
Yeah, I think I had like 10 important plot points that I wanted to hit. Yeah.
Can you go through each of those and how you approached each one?
Sure, yeah. So it starts off with just happy birthday in this very weird mashed up kind of arrangement that took a bit of a time for me to write. So I wanted that to be like the transportation into the mind, and then immediately we get hit with this the voice in your head. So I wanted that to be really upfront, and I wanted the voice to be really sassy and really just present there. And then there's a little 50s girl group section that comes in, and that's my little intrusive light moment. And then after that, I have a bit of time for the birthday kid themselves to talk about how they view themselves and how they feel not exactly ready to become.
And is that a song or a monologue?
It is the song. It's called The Fool's Lament. Yeah. And then right after that, I have my mirror section. And so that is a whole little part of the play.
And that's kind of an interpretive dance or a dance,
more of
right?
like an interpretive dance moment.
Are they singing during that as well, or is it just music and dance?
They are singing during that. And
now, is this the drum? Is this the drum moment?
No, this is before the drum moment.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that is the drum moment. So I wanted to have a part where the birthday kid is trying to take down the clock and they keep getting pushed back. And so I really wanted to make use of the people that I had. So I included the drum. And then this is kind of like another little interpretive dance moment. And then we have
real quick, just for the audience, so they don't like, why are we talking about a drum? I haven't seen this, but the drum is an important aspect because of the story behind the staging of this play. So there is a reason we're bringing that up. So bear with, and we'll get to the importance of that drum in just a moment. So continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, totally. So then we have the song 18, which directly talks about the birthday kid's feelings towards the number 18. And then we have a little completely in the dark moment, which I was really clear about having. I really wanted a part of the play where it was completely in the dark and all you could see were the numbers and the countdown. And in this moment, all of the ensemble members are taunting the birthday kid and really just threatening them. And then right after that, we have a scream, and then we break out into the real world where we meet the older sibling of the birthday kid, and he has a little ballad that he sings. And from there, we reach the end of the play where the birthday kid has accepted the milestone of turning 18 and are finally at peace.
And that's when the clock winds down from 30 to 0, and then
Yep.
boom. Wonderful. So how did you write this? And how did you, so you've hit all these beats, but you've also got a timeline. You're doing this in real time.
Yes.
So how did you have to add or did you have to cut in order to get it in that perfect 30 minutes?
I wrote it to 30 minutes. So I didn't necessarily have to cut or add anything because I was already working with the knowledge that I would be doing this in 30 minutes. So I started from the beginning and then I added from the end. And so I kind of like went from the sides to the middle. And from there, I was able to get like songs perfectly in the right time. And then, of course, with a little bit flexibility from the actors, they were able to make the speaking parts a little bit longer or shorter.
Okay. So they're watching the clock as it goes?
They're not necessarily watching the clock. We have actually timed it to them. So this was really a collaborative process with the actors. So we would give them the script and then I would have them read through it and kind of see how long they would take to read through it and really just make sure that I have that time. And so we would time it like 3 or 5 times and we would just see if we could change any little things. And so it was really a part by part directing after telling them the whole story. And then from there, I would write the song to match the length.
How was that structure in writing? I mean, did you write it in a traditional, with stage directions and all that goodness? Or, I mean, because there's choreography, there's lyrics, there's some dialogue. So, I mean, how did you write that out?
So in my original script that I gave to all the actors, I had all the dialogue and all of the general emotions and feelings that I wanted. One of the things that I said when I was handing out these scripts were, it will make sense when we do it. And it really required like a lot of work on all of our parts to create that piece. And so I originally gave them the script with all of the different songs listed in them. So they would see like a piece of dialogue and then where a song would be, and then another piece of dialogue. And so I had like the ideas for each song planned out, and I gave them like songs from the beginning and songs from the end, and we all worked together to create like the exact timing for the middle songs.
Because you wrote and directed this piece.
Yes.
Now, because I'd love to see this done all over the place, especially, you're saying that it's meant for high school kids, and I don't see why it still couldn't go out and about. And I'm just wondering if you've kept that in mind as far as format and structure goes in order to get it out there. If you were to, put it on New Play Exchange or anything like that. I don't know if you're familiar with that site and more.
Yeah, I am familiar.
Yeah. So is that something you plan on doing or trying to publish this? What's your next step with this piece?
I think this piece would be especially difficult to publish because it is like really specific and really dependent on everything that's happening. A lot of like the script itself really doesn't make too much sense without everything else that comes with it. And so I would be really hesitant to publish this piece specifically. I think for me, having it be high school or at least high school adjacent kids playing it is a really important part. Just because during our rehearsal process, we actually had a couple birthdays and people would come up to me and say, "Oh, I finally understand the piece." And as they're getting closer to 18, they understand it more. And I also want it to be for high school kids to understand that journey.
Sure. So let's go to the rehearsal process because there's something interesting about and forgive me because I forgot the student's name when I had originally responded to somebody else at Mission San Jose before I responded to you later on with your other script, A Lost Soul's Guide to Being Not Alive.
Rucha Kulkarni,
yeah, because that was during lockdown, so we were doing the remote streaming Linnea at that point. So I think it was the year before the gentleman was a senior, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember his name.
I think, yes. Oh, that's so interesting. You responded to us like almost all 4 years then.
Yeah, well, because my usual responding is to student written one acts. This year was different because they didn't really do one acts, the staged version of one acts. What they did was they responded to the actual scripts themselves. And so they asked me to go into a different aspect, which I'm glad I did. It was wonderful to be able to respond to these. So I'm familiar with the situation. I forgot about the situation at Mission San Jose. So tell everybody about that. What's the situation there at Mission San Jose High School? And I think this is the really most important aspect, and why this episode's so important, because of the situation that you guys are in, the obstacles that you overcame in order to even stage this play, and then to get it to festival, and then the troubleshooting you had to do because of things that transpired through the process. So let's start with the situation at your school.
Sure. So around 2 years before I became a freshman, the high school drama teacher actually retired and left our school, and our school made no effort to get a new high school teacher. And so everything surrounding drama died out. And the Sid, the president at our school for the drama club, actually refounded our club just to get it started again. And in the year when I was a freshman, we finally went to Linnea without really any rehearsal space or any teachers. The program director that we used was Washington's program director, David Yekopel. So he was the one who helped us really bring us there initially. And really, we had no one else to support us.
So I think the important Mission, it's not so much that it's a normal high school that they just dropped the theater arts program. It's not really a focus because
we are a very STEM focused school. Yeah,
exactly. So there's really no arts. Are there sports there as well?
There are sports, and there are definitely a lot of people do arts outside of the school, but it's not necessarily considered to be an important part of the school itself.
Which is sad and
very sad.
A little depressing, which is again why I wanted to have you on this episode, because I think it's really important for everybody to realize. And I mean, hopefully we can shine light on this and make some kind of a difference over there at Mission San Jose. I'm not quite sure how we do that, but hopefully somebody who's listening can start something. I had half a mind to pack my bags and go apply there myself, and take the position, even though I don't even know if they're hiring. Anyways, point being, so there is sports. There's no real appreciation of art. Is there music?
There is music. I think one of the people who were at Linnea said something that I thought was really funny and really true. Our middle school band is better than our high school band, even though it's the same people. And so you can kind of see, like, past middle school, a lot of people start losing their appreciation and the care for art, so they don't want to put in the time. So even though it is the same people, there's no one to really guide the students there into really putting in the work.
You guys have a theater.
We have a theater. The seats were all taken out, and so now it is the band storage room.
And you have 2 closets worth of costumes.
We do. We have 2 giant storage units full of costumes that we are able to access, but we have to check in with the band director. And so all of us are really scared to do that. And one of the best parts of owning costumes is being able to kind of adjust them to the production you're putting on. So we're a little bit iffy about that.
So the theater's now a storage room for the band. You really can't access the costumes. So where'd you rehearse?
We rehearse outside. We are a Californian school, so of course it's very open. And so we have this area called the BTQ, which is the Bell Tower Quad. And so it is like 2 steps. Like, there's 2 steps, and then there's the bell tower itself. And so we use that as like our little stage area, just so that we have something. And then we generally rehearse once a week outside in that quad. And then we hope everyone practices when they go home, and we meet again next week.
When did you start the rehearsal process?
We started rehearsals October.
Okay, so this is Fremont. It's Bay Area.
Bay Area.
Which during fall and winter is not the most warm time of the year. It is
definitely not, and we rehearse pretty late. And I know that a lot of people forget to wear jackets.
Yeah. What time did you start rehearsal?
So we would have some rehearsals around 4 to 6, and some around like 4 to 8 or 6 to 8, something like that. A lot of us would leave school at around 9 o'clock.
Is it a lit area?
It is a vaguely lit area. So there were definitely rehearsals where we had to bring in some lamps, but there is some lighting.
At what point did you guys ever get to work on stage to put this together?
We have not necessarily a tech week, but we have a tech day. And so we had one day in our auditorium, which is C120, to really just see everything come together and put on all the sound and all the lighting and really just see it all done.
Is the auditorium lit? Does it have a traditional stage lighting?
Not we actually we're really close friends with the drama teacher that used to be in our middle school, and she gave us the spotlights that they used to use, because I think actually they might have shut down the drama program in my middle school. So we got given those spotlights, and they are currently like split apart in different people's houses because we have no storage space. And so we bring those in every time. My dad actually bought us some speakers to use, so we use those speakers, and we have our own mixer and everything. But everything is really self-funded and brought in every time we want to use that space.
So you get to the point, you've got it on its legs for the most part.
Yeah.
Now, did you write this specifically for Linnea?
I did.
Okay.
So we had a deadline.
So you have no real program director because you have no real theater arts. And I met Mr. Koppel because I responded to Washington's piece as well, which was very interesting because if I'm not mistaken, Washington's school doesn't have they don't have a big theater arts program, and they think they had to combine with another school on top of that, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, I am pretty sure. He always sends us like auditions whenever they're holding them. So a lot of the Bay Area schools do allow other schools to audition at their productions.
Interesting. Okay, so he submits all of your materials to Linnea.
I submit them. Okay. So I have our login for our school, and I just submit everything.
So you'll be passing this over to somebody next year.
Yes, I will.
Okay. So you've got everything submitted. You're accepted to Linnea. They've got your piece. And I know that you guys had other performances as well.
Yes.
There, and probably like monologues and duos. And so you come to Linnea. You don't have anybody. There's no chaperones. I hope I'm not saying anything that's going to get you guys in trouble, by the way.
There are chaperones.
Well, yes.
They are alumni chaperones who are literally graduated the year before.
Right. But in the traditional sense, there are
no chaperones.
Fellow teachers that are there to guide you or support you or to get you there. You've got fellow alumni.
Whenever we try and get an advisor for a club, we actually say to them, "You will not have to do anything. Just please be our advisor."
And what's the response to that?
Well, this year, we have a teacher that does musical theater vocal workshop or show choir. And he left this year actually. And so he was our previous advisor. So we were really searching around for someone to take that spot because the replacement teacher, since he's a first year teacher, couldn't really take on the responsibility of having a club. And our club was warned to be overzealous. So
what does that mean?
Well, I can't exactly tell you. Yeah, but
that's just their opinion. Their opinion is that you guys are overzealous.
Yeah, we actually applied for the standing ovation grant from Broadway licensing, and we received that grant. And in our efforts to get it through to the school, we were in the principal's office a lot, trying to just tell him the situation and trying to get this grant so we could receive the money. And because of that, our club was kind of flagged as a bit overzealous.
You applied for a grant on your own.
Yes.
You received said grant.
Yes.
Yet you were flagged for being overzealous for
trying to get that grant.
Seems a little backwards to me. Name the name of the grant again? The
Standing Ovation Grant from Broadway Licensing.
And what does that consist of? What is that?
So we sent in our story and a lot of pictures. And so the Standing Ovation Grant is given to a program that shows the values of the Broadway licensing team. And so really like overcoming adversity in order to create a theater program.
Do you mind me asking what that award was? How much that was?
It was $5,000.
Did that help cover Linnea for you guys?
It allowed us to put on a minor inconvenience. Without that grant, I do not believe that we would have been able to even put it on. We did not gain any income from putting on a minor inconvenience. And so for students who may not exactly be able to afford the price of Linnea, we were able to help them out this year, and we were able to bring more people into the club this year because of that grant.
There's so much in this that I was not aware of when we discussed this. We had a very limited time to discuss it. I'm aware of some of the things which we still haven't gotten to, but the more I hear about this, the more infuriating I get when I hear this. I'm going to assume that overzealous was not a compliment.
Probably not.
Okay, so you made it to Linnea.
We did.
Wonderful.
It was very difficult.
You guys performed this piece at 8:30 on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
Which is not that's when you perform. So what time did you get up? What time did you arrive at the theater?
Well, we all reached our hotel the night before at around like midnight, because we did have some late night presentations. I know that my costume design presentation was around 8 or 9 p.m.
So you went straight to Linnea. You didn't go check in. You went straight to Linnea.
We did. So since I was not 18 at that time, I was the one who booked the hotels and everything, but I was not able to check in. And so the only reason we brought in alumni to be chaperones was so that they could check us into the hotel and really just be there to support us. And so they checked us in. A lot of us went straight to Linnea, and a lot of us waited until Saturday to go to Linnea. But then really like on Sunday, I know that a lot of people were awake at 4 a.m. And actually, I really want to thank our chaperones for this, but they had stayed up all night trying to fix up one of our props. And because of that, they were never able to get it to the venue on time.
And that prop was which one?
Our clock prop. Okay. So a pretty important prop.
Yeah, I would say so. We'll get to that in a sec, because you guys had a refrigerator as well, which was very good. You open it up, it's dark on stage, the light comes on. Like it was brilliant.
It was very good.
Okay, so you had your design presentation. A few other people had performances as well, and then you get to the hotel at midnight.
Around then, yeah.
Some of you guys are up at 4. And you get back to the Harris Center at what time?
We get to the Harris Center we were actually running really late. I remember on that morning.
Was that because of the clock?
Well, for a lot of reasons, just because it was so early and everything. A lot of things. I know a lot of people were just trying to get some breakfast, and the hotel we were at didn't let us take breakfast outside of the breakfast center. And so I personally was shoving muffins into my sleeve just so that people could eat something before they went on. And I know a lot of people went and performed without eating breakfast. And so it was really hard. And we had a mix up with the cars. So one of our cars was big enough to fit the entire clock in, but then that person left. That person was our set designer, and they left to go to the Harris Center. And because they left without telling anyone or without anyone, it was just like miscommunication overall. The clock couldn't fit into our chaperone's car. And so they were trying to break it down, trying to just get it to the Harris Center. And generally it was really, really like a really complicated and really messy process that morning.
So usually an 8:30 performance, you're supposed to be there at 7:30, if I'm not mistaken?
I think we get around like an hour or 45 minutes. Yeah. Okay. We were supposed to be there at 7:30, and I think a lot of us showed up. Some people showed up 7:30, some people showed up 7:45, some people showed up at like 8:05, I remember.
Okay. So performance, and they're very strict on time. It starts at 8:30. You've got the announcements, and then boom, you're under time constraints.
Our chaperone got there with the clock 8:31, and I said, it's too late. It's on.
So what'd you use instead? How did you troubleshoot this? Because you've got this important piece. You've got a 30-minute countdown. Your prop isn't, or your set piece isn't there. So at what time does the panic set in or the realization? And then
oh,
what did you do?
it was really, really, the panic was there, especially for me. And I'm really thankful for my cast members for kind of having a calmer mind, because I know, like, for me, this is like really a personal piece to me. And I was just scared that it would all go wrong right at the last moment, even when everyone was ready and we had prepared for so long. And so one of my cast members was like, can we just use an iPad? I have my iPad right now. So we pulled up, I think I originally put on just the normal timer, and then we pulled up no. And someone said, no, pull up a timer on YouTube. So we skipped through the ads really quickly just to get a 30-minute timer. We didn't even test it out. We did not know if anything was going to go wrong during the actual show. And I said to them, okay, you're going to be in charge of the clock. So during the scene, right after they sing happy birthday, hide in the back, and then click it and then move on and just get off stage. And we also had the drum, which never arrived.
Right.
And so
so you have the iPad, and then what do you put the iPad on?
A music stand. We just said, can we use that music stand? Okay, put it up. I
Center
said, this
stage.
is good.
Great. Okay.
Around center stage, yeah.
And now you have this drum. What kind of drum is it?
It is a cajon drum, which is like a drum that you sit on. And I thought I was really I really wanted this piece to be there. I was really specific about the drum that I wanted.
You sit on the drum itself?
Yeah, we had the drum. And
right.
Just because of all of that chaos in the morning, we did not have it. And so my drummer, Lucy Yao, she came up to me and said, is this okay? I'm going to use this box. I said, whatever, do it. I trust you.
Okay. And it was an Amazon box, if I'm not mistaken?
It was an Amazon box. I don't even know where it came from. I really have no idea where it was, like who had that box or where it was from, because I'm pretty sure all of our boxes had things in them. So maybe it was like a different school that left it behind, but I don't know where it came from. It appeared.
So
you got it.
So this is a drum you sit on, the original one.
Yes.
Which sits about how high off the ground?
It is pretty tall. It's around like 3 feet, not 3 feet, like 2 feet.
Okay, 2 feet. All right.
Yeah.
And so she plays the drum and she stomps her feet during this performance, right?
Does not actually stomp her feet, because in with the drum you get a little bass drum, and then you get the snares, and so it was really perfect for what we wanted. And so she had come up with it. She really worked on it, like for the time that we had with the drum. And so that day of, I was really impressed by her improvisation.
Yeah, me too, because we didn't know. So yes. you use a box, and we're not talking just a box. It's not like a 2-foot box like the drum. It's a 4-inch.
It's a very small box.
Deep Amazon box.
And she unfolded it.
Yep. And she's squatting down, right? She's using her foot to be the bass drum on the stage while she's hunched over playing this 4-inch Amazon box.
And I think she said the box kept flattening, and then she realized that halfway through that it was not going to be able to stay up, and she started using that the sound of the box swishing around as part of her drumming.
Yes, because it began to collapse under her drumming. And we didn't know. Yeah, we, the audience, had no idea. We didn't know that there was a clock missing. We had no idea there was a drum missing.
I sat on the side next to her while she was drumming, because she was really close to the wings. And I sat in the wings and I said, good job. You're doing great. This is perfect.
It was a very, very moving piece. And just to hear these stories that you guys overcame, all these obstacles, all these things that arose while you were trying to put on this performance at 8:30 in the morning, which wound up getting you what? What did you guys get in return for this? Did it work out to your?
It did work out. We received outstanding performance for our lead actress, Sohani Sawant, and I received the student direction silver, and we also received a 1-act gold.
Wonderful. And then, if I'm not mistaken, because of everything that you overcame, they do this once a year. Once a year they have one award called the Spirit of Linnea Award.
They do.
And I think that had already been assigned.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. But
that Spirit of Linnea Award actually has like kind of a funny story behind it too. on we do put on our Linnea performance once for the school, also just as a test for us to see if we're ready to go to Linnea. And so that was the day. We had to put it on a Thursday because a lot of us were leaving for on Friday to go to Linnea itself. And so we put it on Thursday, and that was the day that the Spirit of Linnea nominations were actually due. And so it's typically a nomination that the program director assigns, but kind of as like the pseudo program director for our school, I feel really uncomfortable choosing one student for that. And so I put it up to a vote. I put out a little Google form for everyone to fill out. And before the performance started, it was at a tie. And then after the performance ended, it was too late to submit the actual form on the Linnea website. And so we went in without sending in any nomination for the Bob Smart Spirit of Linnea Award.
Well, after that performance, I think there were the three of us who had gone in and told your story, and I mean, we were all moved. I think there were a lot of us that were almost in tears because of it. And Alicia Jeffrey, who runs the festival, was very inspired, and that's when she decided to give a second based on your guys' achievements of overcoming everything that you did, and that's why I really wanted to bring you on as well. Not just and we'll touch base on some more playwriting aspects in just a second. I don't want to keep it because I do want to get you to your friends and your co-stars and enjoy your party, but I really think that this is a very important thing to cover, not just because of everything you overachieved. Or that you achieved, and you overachieved it, to be honest with you. I mean, you tackled a lot, and I think it's important for everybody to realize how important the arts are and how neglected they are in some, at least at the high school and maybe middle school level as well. But I think that the other thing is the necessity breeds creativity, and losing certain things and coming up with troubleshooting methods to find a clock, to find something that acts as a drum, and the fact that your audience doesn't even know. To where I think that a lot of other theater companies would have panicked and probably collapsed under the pressure. So I really got to commend you guys, and I really hope that there's a lot of people listening who may be able to send some money your way, and rather than just a grant, and maybe get you unflagged for being overzealous, because to me that's even more ridiculous as well.
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons why this production worked out so well is because Universal Performers as a club and as a program, we do best when we're forced to improvise. We put on Trail to Oregon last year, and that was called one of our best shows. And I think it's because that show involves a lot of improvisation. And so, like, when we have to improvise, we do really well.
Where do you guys perform?
We perform in our auditorium, C120. So one of the interesting things about that stage actually is the curtains are behind, and it's like around the same space on the stage as it is backstage. And so, and we're not allowed to move too many things backstage. And so we kind of put everything back there whenever we perform. And whenever we have dress rehearsals, we have to take all of our set pieces and all of our equipment back home and then put it on the next day.
What are you working on now?
We are working on getting a minor. I'm going to revamp A Minor Inconvenience. So I'm already rewriting some songs and working with more people to rewrite some of the parts of it. And then,
why is that? I'm curious.
Well, there are definitely some songs in there that I felt were not too great. I think specifically like the Mirror song was definitely a little bit too long and could be shortened. And I also had some parts that I felt like were not really expanded on as well as they could be. And so, asking the actors, like, what do they think should be added, what they think was uncomfortable to do, or like, I know that there were definitely some songs that were harder to memorize and were more difficult to understand. And so I wanted to make it clear for both the actors and for the audience exactly what I'm trying to say.
And then what do you do with it after that?
We are going to put on a spring musical. Hopefully, we're trying to put on SpongeBob, and we're trying to raise the funds for licensing for it actually right now. And I think we're gonna get there.
Okay. And but what are you going to do with a minor inconvenience once you have the
We are
rewrite?
going to bring it to the Hollywood Fringe. We've all
Oh,
decided.
you
Yes,
did do you are going to do it.
we are gonna do it.
I'm glad to hear that, and please keep me posted so I can try to promote you guys to get everybody that's listening that's in the area to come see it, because I think it's well worth it. I'm glad that you're taking that suggestion, because I think it will do well at the Hollywood Fringe. And if there's anything I can do for you guys while I'm down here, since it's in my area, anything I can do to help, please let me know, and we can go from there. And then what happens next? What about your playwriting? Are you going to keep pursuing that? What
I
happens
hope
next with that?
to. I think definitely my playwriting in terms of like my playwriting was definitely born out of necessity. Just like, oh, we need a play and it's really difficult to find a play. We can't really afford licensing, so I'm going to write a play. um, and so I really enjoy writing, especially musicals and composing. And so I hope to continue with it, but we'll see.
Where that's right, I forgot the whole composing aspect as well. I mean, how did you approach that?
Well, I'm actually like these few I only did like a few pieces before this, and I never really composed like a full song. And so these were also just kind of like my first time ever composing. And so I kind of treated it a little bit like a puzzle where I would take everything I knew about playwriting and I would just smush it down and be like, okay, I'm trying to tell a little mini play with every story, with every song. I'm trying to tell an arc. I'm trying to give an arc, and I'm trying to give it a story in itself. And I would say, like, how does this story fit into the story as a whole? And then I would just compose it based on like, okay, so this verse is going to be this plot point and this plot point. So each one of the songs is like its own little play.
Where did you learn playwriting and structure?
The playwriting structure, I actually I don't know. I think we were all really self-taught. We all worked together and kind of like figured things out from reading a bunch of plays and just experimenting and seeing what worked and what didn't.
Can you give me examples of what you realized doesn't work and what you realized did?
I think like one of the things that I personally view as really important is like character voice. And so making sure that every character has their own voice and speaking style. And so whenever I review other people's plays, I'm always like, this is what I really think you should do. Character voice. And then also from what I knew about directing, like every movement has to have an intention. So every action has to have an intention, and really just making sure that every character has their motivation from beginning.
How do you, Faye, yourself, how do you make each of your characters sound different and distinct?
Well, I think it's really clear in the little scene that I had with the voice and with the birthday kid, where I wanted them to be similar in some ways, but also really distinct.
Sure.
And so I try and think of their personality and what exactly will cause them to talk a specific way. And I think as a playwright, I also notice more and more things in people I talk to. And so interacting with different people and hearing how they talk and kind of thinking about what's causing them to talk that way really helps me to create character voices.
But how do you do that? How does that translate on the page? I mean, are you playing with cadence? Are you playing with vocabulary?
Yeah, all of that. Like,
are you doing it as you write and you're saying no, or do you go back through?
I do it as I write. I start to think of each of my characters as like their own little voice in my head. And so when I think of like what this character is going to say, it kind of just comes out naturally in their voice.
So would you call it instinctive?
Yeah,
Instinctual for you?
Kind of instinctive.
Okay. What and I'm going to shift gears for a second to go over, because if I'm not mistaken, a Lost Soul's Guide to Being Not Alive is completely different than A Minor Inconvenience.
Completely.
Where did that go? Because I know that we met a couple times after Linnea to kind of, I don't want to say workshop it, but we talked about it. What wound up happening with that?
I think we workshopped it a couple times, and so after that, I rewrote it a little bit. I had it read out to me a couple more times, and then from there, rest of the theater club kind of took over. So we had to just keep moving. And I think in sophomore year, I actually ended up not writing anything. Um, and so this was again like my second time trying to write a full play. And I definitely had like a lot of different starts to plays. Like I tried to do this 30-minute play a couple of different ways. And so I had the starts and kind of like the endings, like again, like the outlines to every play. But I never really sat down to finish the whole play until A Minor Inconvenience.
Are those the only two pieces you've written?
I've written like little things for the club. We do murder mystery games. And so that one is actually another thing where character voice really comes in, where we write like little character biographies for every actor, and a lot of that is improv. And so that gives like a little practice for us playwrights here at the club to find an outline that works for and let the actors take over for a lot of the dialogue. So we give them some bits and pieces, we tell them the information that they should know, and then from there they take over.
Is your work available anywhere? Is it on New Play Exchange, or is your work anywhere where people can find it at the moment?
Not yet, no.
That's okay. All right. Hypothetically, if people wanted to send you donations, is there a way that they can do that?
Yes, there is. We have.
Oh, and you froze on me. Oh, goodness sakes. Where are you at? Hang on. Let's not do this. Why are you doing this to me now? Oh, goodness. All right. There we go. You totally froze. As soon as you said, yes, we have, and you froze. Okay. We'll edit that out. Don't worry. Okay. Is there, hypothetically, if people were to send you donations, is there a place they can send them?
Yes, there is. We have a GoFundMe. It is called Support Theater at Mission San Jose.
Wonderful. And how long has that been active?
It has been active for around a week and a half. We set it up almost immediately after Linnea ended.
Is this to help get you to Hollywood Fringe?
This is, yes, and also to help us put on our spring musical. So kind of like we have our initial goal, which will help us just put on our spring musical, and anything after that will help us put on A Minor Inconvenience at the Hollywood Fringe.
Okay, so it's GoFundMe, and what's it and how do they find it on GoFundMe?
It is called I think it is called Support Theater at Mission San Jose.
That's right. Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
All right, folks, there you go. So go make sure you go to Support Theater at Mission San Jose. And Faye, I don't want to keep you. I want you to be able to go have fun with your cohort. And I thank you for taking the time, especially when you're supposed to be celebrating. You're here hanging out with me instead. So I really appreciate that.
Well, this is really important to me too. So
I appreciate it. Well, it's important to me too. And hopefully we can make a difference. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again down here in the Hollywood Fringe. Faye, thanks for coming on to this episode of Playwright Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Again, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share this video with a friend. If there was one video that you needed to share, this is going to be it, because they need your help. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. And in the meantime, and until we see each other again, keep writing.